Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drroto.com.
Good evening, everybody. It is Johnny Danger with Chris Emrick. We are First Sip, brought to you by drroto.com, your daily prescription of fantasy sports. We are here to take a way too early look at the DraftKings main slate, 12-gamer, this coming Sunday. Chris, are you excited for Week 8?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for every week. This week, I've scaled it back a little bit. The newness of the NBA and the NHL has kind of wore on me. Some of these roster decisions that you have to watch out for in NBA, just, they're nauseating and I hate it. And it's not like that in the first week. So I'm over it. We're back to the NFL. Let's go.
I like it. I even put a little parlay on the World Series game 1 that hit. So, I got to get focused back in on football.
Yeah, well, so I had no runs first inning yesterday. So,
yeah, I parlayed the Atlanta for the win and under 8.5 with Kamara anytime touchdown. It worked pretty well. I enjoyed it. But let's get to football, shall we?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's get to football. Let's take a first look at Cincinnati heading over to the New York Jets. 1 p.m. game over there. What we got here? 10.5-point road favorites. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we've seen the Cincinnati team just beat, what we think is a pretty good Baltimore team, and we've seen this kind of Jets team look in shambles, and now they have a backup quarterback. I don't necessarily think that there's a ton to look at here in regards to fantasy. I mean, when we're looking at the pricing, I just feel like, I guess you could always go to Jamar Chase. I think he's viable every single week. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd just really haven't necessarily produced. And it's weird because T. Higgins is getting the target share, the targets, the air yards. So he feels like he's bound to break out, and he might be a nice pivot off of Jamar Chase in that passing game, but kind of feels like it's going to be a Joe Mixon game. I can't see why it wouldn't be, despite all of the hate that I get when I defend this guy on Redraft Fantasy Twitter.
He's been solid this year. Hey, man, I have him on 4 of 6 redraft leagues this year, and it has treated me well.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, a lot of these guys in the redraft industry, I don't know what it is, but they rag on Joe Mixon, and I don't get what it is. I'm so I don't really understand. It's not like people were drafting him in the first round. And if you were drafting him on that fringe, 12 to 14, that range, okay, that's a little bit high, but he's number I think 15 on points per game scoring, number 11 ranked in PPR, and number 9 in standard. So he's my comment was, I was so he's a fringe RB1 that was drafted as a fringe RB1. Wild,
crazy stuff.
What are we defending? What do you use?
And dude,
I don't know.
The running back top 5 running backs have been so injured up and down. Joe Mixon has just been consistent. I love it.
I mean, look, it comes down to this. When you were looking at Joe Mixon, and specifically even for fantasy, although his price, or for DFS, his price has gotten up there. Was there anybody that thought Mixon was getting 25 to 30 carries? I mean, they talk about these type of people, and I guess they're not on my timeline. I don't see these type of things. Joe Mixon is getting kind of 20 to 25 touches, maybe a little bit less, and that's kind of what you expected. Last week, not so many, but he was able to kind of cap that with a touchdown. Targets anywhere from 1 to 6, carries anywhere from 16 to 20, 29 week 1. I don't get it. At $7K, it is a pretty steep price to pay. But that's something we'll evaluate. So those are kind of the things I'm monitoring for the week in this game.
Yeah,
really nothing.
I like Higgins. I like Higgins at 52. I mean, he got 15 targets last week. So, I mean, it's a hell of a pivot.
Yeah, I mean, look, at 52 versus 75, it's going to be, based off of how other people perceive it and whether or not Higgins ends up being kind of chalky because of that price. But, on the Jet side of thing, really nothing. nothing interesting. I just don't think that Corey Davis with this backup quarterback has any type of upside that we can kind of attack. I think the Cincinnati defense is a little bit more expensive than what we typically like to pay at 3,600, but that's probably going to be something that's popular, and it's not like one of those $400 or $4,200 defenses like we see in usually premium matches.
Sure. Well, let's move on to a game that might be a little bit more relevant to the week. Let's go to Miami heading to Buffalo. We've got a 14-point favorite by the Buffalo Bills. I feel like that's high. I feel like the Dolphins aren't that bad. I don't know. In division game? Not in division, but you know what I mean.
It isn't. It's a division game.
Not the second game, yeah.
I mean, look, so we're going to want to target things in this Buffalo offense. I mean, Josh Allen is 8,100, getting his price up there, but they're implied for almost 32 points. I really do like kind of like Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley, both of those, 54 and 4,900. And then you've got Stephon Diggs, and that's really where you're going to have to make a decision at 8,100. That's a pretty expensive stack. We're in like Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill territory if you're stacking him with Josh Allen, and he just necessarily hasn't produced, hasn't gotten the results, but it's not because of a lack of targets or air yards. He's still getting double-digit targets, still commanding a target share, and having pretty substantial air yards. So I think you can definitely do it, and it really is going to make your lineup a lot different when you're starting with 16,000 in salary already off the board.
Yeah, I'm leaning pretty heavily towards looking at Cole Beasley. He's under 5,000, a guy that can easily touch that 7, 8, 9 targets a game. I'm having a hard time keeping them out of my builds.
Look, this is a situation where you could take two people off of Buffalo. They're implied for 30 points. It's very similar to me, what we saw last week with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And if you look at the two of them, if you stacked them with Tom Brady, you were looking at 7,000 and then an average of 6,400 between the two. 64, well, it's 59 and 65, so 6,400 between the two. And that's pretty close if you go like Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs or even Emmanuel Sanders. So I do think a double stack is something that you can kind of rely on from the Buffalo side of things. When it comes to Miami, do you need to run it back? I don't necessarily think you do. I do like the Buffalo defense at 3,300. I think that's a great spot. We're in Buffalo. You could play Mike Gesicki. You could play Waddle. I just don't think you need to run it back on a team that's implied for 17 points.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All right, let's keep moving then. Let's go from Buffalo out to Houston, where the Rams are going to be visiting the Texans. Is it just like Darrell Henderson here? Or are you just going to keep playing Stafford and Kupp?
Look, this, I wonder how this is going to kind of play out. We saw Darrell Henderson kind of have the nut spot last week and then just kind of fumble it. Not by anything that he did per se, he just didn't produce. The game didn't dictate it. But I don't think that Houston's going to be able to come out and do what Detroit did. Detroit's probably like the best 0-7 team that there's ever been. I don't know if that's true. They do have some fight and they have some grit, and they, go for it on fourth down on their own 1 yard line in the first quarter and stuff like that. So you got to love it. But, this Houston team's been pretty bad, not necessarily awful in regards to stopping the pass. And so, yeah, maybe Darrell Henderson is the way to go. We'll see how the ownership shakes out here.
Yeah, I mean, I think he really has become a workhorse in that offense, and we were disappointed last week, but I mean, they started the game down, 10-0 before they touched the ball. So it just kind of didn't gear up for him.
Yeah, and the thing that was highlighted throughout the week, or at least that I tried to talk about, was this guy doesn't get 100 yards very often, and that's still a worry that I'm going to have coming into this game. But I feel a little more confident that he's going to score a touchdown this week, and as long as he scores a touchdown, his workload, especially in a game where they should be up and they should, maybe even cover the spread, he should be fine.
Is Cooper Kupp at 9,000 getting untouchable?
I mean, he has the ceiling. It's just you're giving up a lot to get there. But I mean, look at what he's done: 40, 37, 30, 39. So even with that 9, it's totally okay.
You take that 9 out, he's averaging over 30 points a game.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, 16 and 11 point outputs at 26. I mean, so we're talking 1, 2, like 6 of these games, 5 of these games, that 9K salary would have been paid off and then some. 2 of those fails. So yeah, I mean, he's still going to get double-digit targets. I mean, even when they're ahead and crushing teams, he's getting double-digit targets. He's getting looks in the end zone. And I think that there's no reason to think that won't continue. Again, this is a situation where this is a 30-point implied total. This is a team that's going to score some points, and they're going to have 3 or 4 touchdowns to kind of spread out between these guys. So
this is probably another situation, just like Buffalo, where that run back is just really not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of force it. You can force it with Cooks, but Cooks does not seem very happy right now that Mark Ingram was traded. Okay, whatever. But yeah, there's nothing really here that I'm too interested in.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the 49ers heading to Chicago. The 49ers somehow are still road favorites, probably because the Bears are just awful. But I've been pretty disappointed in my squad, so I don't know how they're 4-point road favorites here. But Herbert, I don't know, man. He looked really good 2 weeks in a row. What do you think of this kid?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was so confused for a second. I was like, we're talking about San Francisco and Chicago. Herbert, yeah, look, hey, we've got on me. I should have known which Herbert we're talking about here. Yeah, I mean, he's looked good. But the one thing I guess is like San Francisco has been pretty like all right defensively, I guess, in terms of fantasy points allowed. Their sack rate, yards before contact aren't that great. But again, like Chicago offense has been awful. San Francisco's offense hasn't been
Herbert's
much better.
Last 3 games, though, 75 yards, 97 yards, 100 yards rushing. So hard to ignore that.
Yeah, and especially against a good
Tampa
defense like Tampa Bay.
I a little worry about Tampa Bay. I mean, they've given up 100 yards to Herbert. They gave up a huge game to Gaskins.
But that
not
was
as elite as we thought they were.
But the Gaskin one was mostly through the air.
Through the air, yeah. 2 touchdown catches. Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess you could play Herbert. I'm kind of interested in Debo, and it's just like what happened to Brandon Ayuk. Like sometimes I just wonder what's going on with Shanahan. Like the guy seems really sharp at times, but just seems like an idiot most of the time. I'm not even sure that I'd like to have him as my coach. How do you feel?
I'm a huge 49ers fan, and I like him because he creates fun offenses. But man, probably a guy destined to be an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the ball here, how about Mooney? He's one of a handful of guys commanding like 25% target share. Is he keeping that up?
I don't think it matters. I mean, they don't throw the ball enough for that number to be significant. This isn't an offense that's throwing the ball, 30 times a game. This is an offense that's throwing it like, 15 to 25. So that target share is too small. I'm really not interested in anything on the Chicago passing attack, not against San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm interested in this game as a 49er fan to see what happens with Eli Mitchell this week.
Yeah, it's just like, look, this is a 21-18 game. That's what they have the line set at. So you can pick parts. You could play Herbert. You could play Debo if they fit into your lineups. Debo's super expensive, so you are paying a premium. He has been able to deliver in a lot of cases, but I don't know. I don't see myself getting to much in this game.
Yeah.
It's a 1 p.m. game, so you're giving up kind of, not that the 4 p.m. games are very good, but I don't want to have a lot of my guys tied up in that necessarily. And this isn't a game that's gonna even like be a sneaky game stack. Like, oh, hey, we're implied for 40 points, but we're really gonna go for 55. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I'm more interested in this as a fan than I am in DFS.
Gotcha.
Let's put it that way. How about the Tennessee Titans heading to Indianapolis? I'm looking in seasonal for a spot start out of Wentz, so I'm hoping that that offense hums. 51 points here, only a 1-point favorite at the home team Colts. Obviously, Derrick Henry's been just unstoppable this year. Does it continue? And I'm shocked he's actually down salary.
Well, he had a down game against Kansas City. Still carried the ball 29 times, but didn't reach 100 yards, did not get a rushing touchdown, just simply the passing one. I guess he probably could have scored if he tried to run that in. But yeah, he's always playable. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is in a fantastic spot. He has been fantastic the last 4 or 5 weeks, finding the end zone each of the last 4 weeks, twice in one. Carson Wentz has looked a lot better. Seems to have like more of a command, more comfort within this offense. And then one of my favorite plays right now is Michael Pittman at 5,300.
Yeah.
I kind of identified
Wentz
him.
and Pittman together are only 11,000 total.
Yeah, I mean, look, one or the other, or put them together. I like Pittman. Hasn't had a huge volume the last 2 weeks, but I don't think that they necessarily needed it against Houston and against San Francisco. The conditions just didn't kind of play to the passing game. But yeah, he seems to be their guy. He hasn't dropped a pass yet, catches most of his passes, and has found the end zone a couple times. Against the secondary in Tennessee that just has been eviscerated by injuries.
Yeah, not good.
I love Pittman here.
Yeah, I'm envisioning Wentz and Pittman with a run back of Brown here. I think Brown's in a really good spot. Indianapolis's run defense has been pretty good. Maybe Henry gets bottled up one more game.
Sure.
So yeah, I like Brown. I like Wentz a lot. I mean, I'm looking at him now for the first time at DraftKings at 57 against. I mean, just a dreadful secondary.
Yeah, this is one of the higher totals for the week, and I mean it's a close implied. It's basically a pick 'em. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people came to this game, and sure. I just wonder what the ownership is going to be here. So I'm initially very interested in this game, though.
Yeah, well, check ownership, but the contest I play, I'm not too worried about that. I'm just trying to fitty. You know me. So let's head over in another divisional game. Pittsburgh heading to Cleveland. What do you think here? What's your first thoughts here? We, I just like Najee Harris. I mean, 75 is kind of high. Cleveland's run defense has been decent. Cleveland's like literally every player is injured in this game on both sides.
Yeah, the problem that I have with Najee Harris is while that he has been producing, he's, at this price now, he's been, what he's been producing with like this optimal workload, which probably doesn't change, has been kind of like the floor of what you need. So you'd need an extra touchdown or a 100-yard game to really get into those upper 20s and 30s that you'd probably be looking for. I would rule him out. I'd be definitely interested in Dearness Johnson to some extent, but against Pittsburgh, their rush defense has been, admirable this year. So they have played some really low totals. I guess I don't have a ton of interest. A lot of it is going to be dependent on the injuries as well. Deontay Johnson is playable every single week, but that's kind of where I'm at for this.
Yeah, my gut feeling says Nick Chubb misses another week.
I think he probably does. I think that, depending on injuries in the receiving core, Jarvis Landry is probably playable. Like Odell Beckham is down at like 4,600. They're like begging you to play Odell Beckham, but right. I probably won't, especially if it's Baker Mayfield that's starting. So if it's Case Keenum, I think it's a better situation right now. If Case Keenum is your starter, it's not necessarily that big of a downgrade for Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. Just from a passing game, maybe there's some intangibles or some things that Baker brings on the field that the team likes, but I think Case Keenum is pretty capable backup. We've seen him, take teams pretty far. So,
yeah, we watched him play pretty damn good in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I think Baker's going to play. That's the reports I was hearing today. They seemed pretty confident that he was going to go. So let's just move on. Let's go to Philadelphia heading to Detroit. I just keep waiting for Gainwell to just take it over. He looked pretty good last week, but I've been burned like 3 times against the Lions this year, thinking I had a guy in a perfect setup. Is Gainwell going to take it and run? Is Boston Scott interesting?
No, Boston Scott's not interesting. I like this is going to be kind of dependent on who's playing. I mean, is Miles Sanders going to play?
Assuming Sanders is out, what's your Gainwell interest?
I just don't think that he's going to be out, though. That's the thing. I'd be interested in either of them. Yeah, definitely we're playing Gainwell if Sanders is out. We're playing DeAndre Swift, and let's see.
Are you playing Sanders if he plays?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
What do we got him at? 51 against Detroit?
Yeah, it's super low. This Detroit team's not wonderful defensively. So, this is a good game to load up on some of the Eagles, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders, Gainwell, Goddard. And then on the Detroit side, it's a pick 'em of the wide receivers. Like, do we want to play Khalif Raymond at 5,300? Does he have a big enough ceiling? I mean, maybe if he's going to get 7 to 10 targets, find the end zone, like maybe Khalif Raymond is a playable run back, and you're playing something like a Hurt, Smith, Raymond, or even throwing in kind of like a Gainwell and thinking that this Philly team scores like 32 points on
my initial read on this game, Chris, is a naked Hurts play.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's one of the few quarterbacks that I guess that's okay.
Because I just go through the game logs of his players and like just nothing really works. But he's scoring 26 a game.
Yeah, but you still see Devontae Smith getting enough targets, especially in most games. He's getting 9, 8, 10. You take out the Tampa Bay game, and he's getting there. He's the guy that you want for the upside that's going to share that. You just hope that they find him in the end zone a little bit more often than they have so far.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I'm probably staying away from this game unless Sanders is ruled out. Then I'll probably, swing with Gainwell.
Sure.
That's probably where I'm going. How about Carolina heading to Atlanta? We saw a little life out of the Atlanta crew last week. Pitts looked good. Ridley looked good. Patterson is still banging it out there. McCaffrey probably missing another game. We got Hubbard. There's some pieces here. Is Sam Darnold somebody you want to go back to even after being benched last week?
No, man, I'm done with Darnold.
We got to be out, right?
I'm done with Darnold. I saw a little bit of Matt Ryan slander going into last week that he didn't have a ceiling, which is just kind of weird. Like, I mean, I don't know what ceiling we're talking about. Are we talking like Josh Allen ceiling? Because no, he doesn't have a 35-point ceiling, but the guy has been pretty good as a fantasy, at least DFS quarterback, getting you, 4, almost 5x. And now his price is up at 5,900, which kind of makes that a little bit harder to go over to.
Yeah, now you're hoping for the best game of the year at 30 points,
Yeah, and I just don't see that happening. I mean, this Carolina defense has been good. This offense has kind of fallen apart. I've seen a ton of chatter about Robbie Anderson on Twitter all week. So I think that a lot of sharp people are going to be firing at him just based off of the volume that he's been getting, that he's 4,700. And, will he continue to fail? Probably, but definitely an interesting kind of conundrum we have depending on how that shakes out.
The most targeted, least productive receiver in the game right now?
I think so. I think that's what the stat is. It's something pretty close to it. I mean, I already knew it from a feel, but people were just kind of justifying what was out there.
I mean, is it just like really bad quarterback play? Because he's got like a 25% catch rate right now. I mean, it's
a mix. Yeah, no, look, it's a mix. Some of the passes have been bad. He's dropped some really easy passes. It's been a combination of all of that. So I definitely love Kyle Pitts in this game, though. 6,300, 9, 10, 8 targets, been catching his targets, finding the end zone, over 100 yards. Kyle Pitts is probably one of the better kind of tight end plays for the week.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is really coming into it. I think Patterson has finally priced himself for the last few weeks out of my thoughts.
I don't know why you say that. He's 6,200, and between his targets and rushing attempts, it's almost 20 touches a game. I mean, assuming he catches all of them. So, at 6,200 as a kind of a guy that's viable, or that's a running back that's getting kind of those passes, I think he's totally playable at 6,200.
We'll see, sir. We'll see how it turns out. All right, let's keep walking around. That was our 1 o'clock games. Let's get into them 4 o'clocks. Let's go New England to the Chargers. For me, man, like I've really just I'm feeling it. I'm feeling I'm feeling Keenan Allen. I'm feeling it this week.
I mean, yeah, like he's got to break out of this funk. I feel like this happens all the time, but he's got to break out of it. 6,500, coming off a couple bad games. I think he's going to be lower owned than he probably should be at that price. So I love going back to Keenan Allen here. This New England team has been better at stopping the run versus the pass. They haven't been necessarily very good against tight ends. So I would be kind of inclined to take a look at kind of Jared Cook at 3,400 as a cheap tight end option, but Keenan Allen's probably my favorite play. Mike Williams at 7,700 is still fantastic. Obviously has flashed a ceiling that warrants playing him, especially at that price. So yeah, I'm interested in a lot of different pieces from this Chargers offense. When it comes to New England, I mean, look, Damian Harris has looked good. Depending on how this backfield shakes out, he might be an interesting play against a Chargers defense that has had some issues against running backs, especially against the Ravens and the Browns.
Yeah, it looks like New England has really kind of started to consolidate between Harris and then Bolden in the old James White role is what it really has looked like, which is, good for fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. And Damian Harris has looked good running the ball, finding his way in the end zone as long as he doesn't fumble it. 14, 15, 18 carries, gets 100 yards and a touchdown. That's kind of what you're looking for. He is up at 6,100. Last week, he was kind of a slam dunk play. I think he's just like a fringe right now. So,
I have mild interest in Brandon Bolden at 45, but I just don't see any of my builds going that way. I have not been playing bargain running backs, but I do like his catch passing ability for 4,500.
Yeah, I'm probably not going there, but I understand what you're looking at.
Catch passing.
Yeah, pass catching, catch passing.
You got it. You got what I meant. All right, let's go Jacksonville to
throw
Seattle.
Corralling, his ability to corral the throws that come to him.
That's right. Let's go to Jacksonville, heading out to Seattle. Man, I don't know what to do with this Seattle team. I don't know what to do with it at all. I like James Robinson this week, of course. 6,600, I think, is still extremely playable for a guy that should get some run. Seattle's run defense is bad. I mean, their defense altogether is bad.
No, look, I love James Robinson, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in over like 20-25% ownership when the projections come out. I think he's probably one of the better plays on the slate. Catching the ball out of the backfield. He's gotten quite a few carries, looks good, finds the end zone. I just can't see why you would play him here. On the other side of the ball, though, look, Alex Collins at 5,300. I know that he just had a pretty rough game at home against New Orleans, who's got a pretty decent defense. Sometimes it's elite. It's weird. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just takes a very long time for them to come into the form. But usually mid-season to late season, that unit really turns it up, and they've gotten some guys back from injury. So I like Alex Collins against Jacksonville, who is none of those things on defense. And he's only 5,300. He's ran the ball well. This is all assuming that, and I don't think Chris Carson can come back yet. I could be wrong in that, but I like Alex Collins at 5,300. And then, you can always play a DK Metcalf or a Tyler Lockett, but I'm not in a full slot.
Apparently, Marvin Jones just needed us to quit talking about him. Like literally the 1 week where you don't talk about him, he hits his 100 yards and a touchdown.
Well, that's because he was on an island game. So
right. It's just hilarious. Like the one time, I'm talking about in our seasonal Discord chat, like for once there wasn't a million Marvin Jones questions, and week 6, 2 weeks ago, obviously, and boom, that just was cracking me up. I was looking at that earlier today.
Yeah, and I guess you can still play him. He's 5,900. It's not a terrible price, but I think you have better options out there.
I would tend to agree. All right. What do we got? Yeah, we got Washington heading to Denver. Looks like Jerry Jeudy's going to come back. And from what I heard today from a beat writer over there, he said Jeudy looks like he's ready to bust out, and the coaching staff is trying to hold him back. What do you think of that?
Well, man, I hope they do hold him back. Another tight end play that I like that tends to just get overlooked because he's always grouped in with, other guys that I think just attract more attention, but Noah Fant. 7, 11, 4, and 10 over his last 4 games in terms of targets. Doesn't quite get to that like 100-yard mark, but does score a touchdown here and there. He's at 4,900. This week's tight end, options up there aside from Kyle Pitts are not necessarily the most wonderful. So I'd like Noah Fant, but I'd like him a little less if Jerry Jeudy's coming back, and I would like Jeudy.
Yeah, everything I see is pointing to Jeudy playing. He's 4,900 against a trash Washington secondary.
Yeah, absolute worst. So yeah, I think you can pick a point, like a player out of this game. It's a low total. It's in Denver. I think Denver wins this game, but man, they looked bad against Cleveland. So I almost wonder, do you want to take a chance on Antonio Gibson at 5,700? I think it's worthwhile to kind of take a stab at it and maybe think that this Denver unit defensively is falling apart. They have had a couple games where they haven't really looked very good against the run. They're very similar to that Carolina team that they've kind of, the wheels have just come off. Gave up 35 points. We all saw it on, an island game, 37 points to Las Vegas running backs. And then the week before, 27 to Najee Harris. So, I think Antonio Gibson's a pretty interesting play. Hasn't really produced recently and, has a lingering shin issue. So I think from a GPP standpoint, I might be interested there.
I'm calling Jerry Jeudy, 7 catches on 10 targets. 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Big game, 4,900. Love it.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. All right, let's bring it home with Tampa Bay heading to New Orleans. A lot has been made over Lattimore and Evans' history. Counterpoint, that was with Jameis Winston throwing the ball. Do you care with Tom Brady, or is it going to get in Evans' head?
Yeah, I mean, what's it been with Tom Brady? I mean, we have a couple games, don't we? He didn't produce the 2 games with Tom Brady either. So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Antonio Brown is supposed to be back or no? What's the word on that?
Doubtful is what I'm seeing, and I have not heard anything good on the radio today while driving around.
I think you go to Mike Evans. This offense has, I don't think the pivot is Chris Godwin. I think the pivot is still Mike Evans, but if you don't want to go there, you are going to buy into that narrative. I think Leonard Fournette becomes a pretty interesting kind of pivot off of Godwin, who I assume will be pretty chalky given everything that you've said. Mike Evans' price has gone up, but I don't know. He just seems like he's in this kind of zone with Brady and they're in this kind of like FU mode. And, if we can get him at like 5 to 10% ownership while Chris Godwin's 20 to 25, well, sign me up. Just sign me up for this Tampa Bay passing attack when they're implied 4 touchdowns again. And every week, we talk about.
I think it's just double stack Godwin and Evans. Yeah,
absolutely.
Run it back with Kamara. Why not? If Herbert can trash that Tampa Bay defense, so can Kamara. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's expensive, but
Yeah,
it could be done.
I don't know if you're getting quite there.
It could be done. It could be done. You got to get real creative in your wide receiver selection, and you got to play like Washington's defense.
Yeah, look, if they're going to get him 8 to 10 targets, this is something we've just wanted them to do for so long, and now they're finally doing it. It's like, oh my God, maybe let's feature the best wide receiver on our team. He just happens to play running back, and no Taysom Hill, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I kind of like. Maybe you don't double stack it. Maybe you do an Alvin Kamara and then you run it back, or maybe you just try and double stack it. I don't know. Can you?
It can be done. It can be done.
I
was playing around with it earlier. Let's do it right now.
I'm doing it right now.
Let's do it right now. I'm gonna Evan Godwin.
I mean, so we're gonna go Brady here, and we got 4K left over, so
we can do it. It can be done.
So from a defense standpoint, where we go like Chargers.
I mean, you could literally go to the bottom, go to Washington, and just hope that Teddy Bridgewater throws a pick 6.
Yeah, I mean,
you could go to the Lions D and think they're going to get their win.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to do any of that. Let's just try and be a little less bold on that. Let's just see how it works.
It's tough, man. I'm looking through it right now.
I'll go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Yeah. We need a cheap tight end. Gerald Everett's been a little bit more, but maybe we'll talk about it. We'll get a little Jared Cook. All right, 4,600. So I'm gonna need a real cheap one.
Man, I like Dan Arnold at 28.
No, I'd rather take Cook.
Well, I mean, I'd rather take Cook. I'm just saying we got to save some money.
It's okay, man. I'm trying to find it.
Oof, we got to get deep at running back. I don't know.
We can't go. Tyler Johnson's a little bit like now we're triple stacking, and I don't think that's okay. Yeah. Okay. So where are we going? We can go Miles Sanders because I think Miles Sanders is going to play, right? So, oh man, this is fine. This is totally fine, man. So if you go like a Deshaun Jackson or something like that and just hope for like a long touchdown, you can even go up and you can do something like, let's say, Alex Collins at 5,300, and then your flex is, this is totally doable, 5,200 then, and now we're talking we're talking T. Higgins, man. So listen, I've got a great team here. It's Tom Brady throwing to Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, running it back with Kamara. We've got Alex Collins. Yep. We've got Deshaun Jackson. We've got Jared Cook, T. Higgins, and the Buffalo defense. I don't know, man. This sounds really good. Like,
yeah. All right, who was your flex? Who did you sneak in there for 3,300?
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson. All right, man. All right.
Look. If you want to go somewhere else, okay, so you could change some things around. Maybe you go down to Gerald Everett from Jared Cook, and then you could do somebody like a Adam Humphries, or you could even go to like a Jamal Agnew, and then you're going to kind of change your T. Higgins price. But like, you have some options here.
It can be done.
Yeah,
it can be done, is what we're trying to say.
Easy.
It can be done. You could throw Gabe Davis in there. Why not?
I thought about that, but like, okay, so let's say I can't go T. Higgins and I can't go Jackson. Let's go like kind of like, has he been used? Jamal Agnew got like 6 targets and 8 targets. They kind of like Jamal Agnew over there in Jacksonville. It feels like now we've got 4,800. What kind of 4,800? What does that give us? That gives us like a Tyler Boyd. It gives us a Robbie Anderson if we wanted to. So we could even get so if we go to Cole Beasley. So let's get a little Jared Cook down to Gerald Everett. Then you get Cole Beasley in there. Plenty of options for you. I'm gonna run tell you what. I'm gonna take this, the basis of what we have, and I'm gonna max enter the 20 max $3. And it's all going to be different variations of these 4 guys.
Yeah, Brady, Kamara, Evans, Godwin, and just run it 20 times.
That's what I'm doing.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to do the same thing in the dime.
Do it. Take it down.
Do it in the dime, baby.
We'll point to this show right here when we figure it all out.
I like it. All right, buddy. Quick thoughts on tomorrow night's game. You got Adams out. Looks like Lazard is out. Is it just kind of like Aaron Jones night? Is it Robert Tonyan night? What is it for Green Bay? It feels so weird that I'm just not even all that confident that Arizona is going to win the game. Like, it just feels icky. Like, it feels
I don't know
weird.
why. I don't know why you wouldn't be confident. Arizona has beaten much better teams.
I understand
than what Green Bay and like this.
Remember that Rams call from last year?
David Bakhtiari
call from last year.
Look. Yeah, that was a different. Jair Alexander's out. David Bakhtiari's out. Like this Green Bay team has massive holes. I saw the Arizona line at -6. It's -6.5 right now. Yeah. And I jumped all over that earlier this week with a pretty sick 600 whale unit bet. Yeah. It's not true. It was a 3-unit bet though.
I like it. No, I don't know what to make of Green Bay. I mean, if they don't just feed the ball to Aaron Jones, they're screwing up, and they're going to screw it up. So.
I mean, look, here's the problem. So this Green Bay offensive line was not good on Sunday. I mean, they had some issues against this Washington football team defensive front that has vastly underperformed all season. This Arizona Cardinals defensive line is so much better. They're going to have, what's his name? Chandler something. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank, but you still have JJ Watt. You still have the other pieces. They're going to be all up in Aaron Rodgers' business. And I think it's going to be a long day for Green Bay. It's weird. I'm going to take this like 6, but I don't even like the over under at 51. Now it's at 50. I kind of like the under. I don't think Green Bay gets a lot done.
So. I have got a Monday, Thursday going pretty good here. And so
I think I'm going to have a couple same game parlays. I mean, I know I'm going to have a couple same game parlays. I know that.
You think I should take Aaron Jones out of that?
As opposed to, I mean, I don't know.
I could play Edmonds or Connor.
No, dude, you can't. You can never take I don't put this on me, man.
I'm just curious, dude. It's 25 cents, man. It's not like
I know, but you're gonna it's gonna be the difference between whatever in first place.
I don't care
if you don't do it. James Conner's the I don't know. Just you tell me tomorrow what you end up with, and that way I can build my DFS lineups with that in mind. Or like you leave one in, and then you hedge your Thursday night lineups with like the other guy that would have played.
Nah, that doesn't sound like something I would do.
Well, what I'm thinking is with some of the same game parlays, I probably will take like an alternate line and even, give up 10 points as Arizona. So
you got Hopkins basically not practicing all week with a hamstring. If he's out,
he's not out. He's just a veteran. He's not. He does this, so he'll be fine.
Fair enough. All right, man. I think we mostly kept to the rails. You're welcome.
I love the rails.
Absolutely, man. I will
stay on them. Love to stay on them.
I will be on in a little bit with our friend Sam, filling in for Derek Tate tonight. So I know you're going to be waiting with bated breath for that. Yes, it's going to be fabulous. But anyways, this has been First Sip. You're going to catch Chris on Saturday morning with Coach White and with Sam talking college and pro football. And, of course, Sunday morning in the Discord with Doc and myself at the premium Discord at drroto.com. So make sure you subscribe, get in there, get your questions answered, and we'll see you all soon. Have a good night.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well,